So the next vegetable I wanted to paint was a bunch of carrots. I did a little test, and I can't quite decide how to move forward. I think I'm just going to paint them all at once. I was thinking about also painting one carrot, letting it dry, painting the next one next to it, letting that dry. So that's an option, but I don't want to stretch this video out for days and days while I try and get 4 carrots painted. So I started out with some orange. I mixed orange and just a little bit of yellow right here. I'm gonna add a little more yellow. The first layer of these carrots needs to be really, really light, and then we're gonna build darker colors on top. So I'm just adding a little more water so that as I paint with it, it really just kind of shows the shape of the carrot without really giving any detail or any shadows or anything. It's just gonna help give us our outline. I'm not gonna add very many greens to the top of these carrots because of how much space I gave myself. So I'm gonna do the outline of the first one here. Let's see, I'll make it a little taller. Carrots have kind of a rounded top, but also they can be so irregular and weird looking. So really it's just like a long wonky triangle with a little bit of a point at the end. That can be added later too, like the weird carrot shape. And then I'm gonna put one, I was thinking about in a bunch of carrots, the tops of the carrots are not always the same height. So there's gonna be one back here that's kind of behind, and it's probably not gonna be as long. The end will end earlier. It might also be a little bit more like broken off and not as tapered. I'm gonna put that one in. Just gonna leave a little gap between them so I can remember where one carrot starts and another ends, and that'll fill in later probably with a little shading. Okay, so there's 2. I think I want one over here. It's maybe like that. I've got Eric Clapton on now, my favorite painting music. Okay, and then how about one more back here? This is a hard one to paint in because I don't want to touch it all together, but let's just imagine that it's offset a little bit from the front one, which means it's going down like this, and then maybe its end is somewhere like right in here. It's back there. Okay, 4 carrots. I changed my mind about that one. I didn't like it like that. Okay. Next is to mix a color that's just a little bit darker. So I'm gonna wipe this out. Just leave a little bit left in there, and then I'll add this lighter orange and a little dab of darker orange in there, and then some water. So that'll show up just a little bit darker. Okay, so this carrot back here is going to be pretty dark because it's in the back. I'm going to have these sides over here stay pretty light. except for just a little bit of shading around them, and then they're going to be darker on this other edge. So light is kind of coming from the left, shining in this way, making shadows on the back sides of the carrots. So with that in mind, I'm going to start adding in some more of this. I'm going to try and leave it kind of light at the edge. I don't know, we'll see how this works. Might be too wet still. We have 2 more layers to add on here for darker and darker color. So I think this is gonna be fine. Okay, I'm just gonna fill these in now that I know where the edges of my carrot are. So this is a big one back here. It's coming down this way. And this is kind of the top of this carrot. Okay, now I have this color still here from the beets, and it was kind of a red-orange mix. Before I do that, I'm gonna dry off a couple spots with a dry brush. Try and soak up a little bit of these puddles. Okay, let's see what this color is. I'm gonna keep it over to the right side again, where I can. So my plan right now is to fill in these white areas after it's a little more dry. I did that with the greens for the beets and filled in with a different green, and it worked okay. So I think it'll be okay here too. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry just a little. Speaking of greens, just gonna do a pretty small brush, couple little stems. I'm not really touching it to the orange. It looks like it did a little bit here and here, but I think that's okay. This one, this front carrot will have to get its green stems put on at the very end when everything is totally dry. We'll just have to wait on that. Okay, I'm gonna do slightly darker green. It's gonna mix that right here. So this is kind of like an emerald green, and I'm just gonna put a touch of brown in it. And put a couple more little, oh boy. Oh wow, look at that. I think I'm gonna leave it. I kind of love that. It kind of actually looks like what the top of a carrot is. Where it's kind of green at the top and then spreads down in. So you know what? It's gonna do it. Just a teeny bit of paint at the top and it'll spread how it wants. Isn't paint cool? Love it. Okay. These carrots still need some detail, like some horizontal little lines to show how they grow, kind of those, they're almost like where little hairy roots are, those little fine roots. But that can't happen yet while it's so wet. And this carrot here needs some definition. And then I'll do some spreading of color to fill in some of these white spots here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of white because it kind of helps to define where one starts and one stops, but not this giant mark here. Let's see, I can take out a little bit here. Okay, I'm gonna try something. First, I want a dry brush and I'm gonna try and make these just a little bit pointier, a little bit hairier down here, for lack of a better word. A little shaggy, like they just got ripped out of the ground. Okay, and then I want an orangey brown. Take a little of this. The tiniest bit of black. Okay, I'm gonna try that for some teensy little, nope, still too wet. I wanted to do some little tiny touches and see if they would spread to make those little kind of growth lines, but not ready. I'm so impatient. I think I'm gonna try a little green right here. Oh, I'm scared. I'll dry off a little spot first. It's probably too much. But I think then I could do maybe the stems from this. Let's see. I'll have to define those more later. There's some blobby carrots. Okay, so when it's dry, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use this brownish orange, and I might make it a little bit darker, or make 2 shades of it. Start with this and then do another one. I'm just gonna do some tiny little lines coming in from the side. They'll be just slightly curved. Just a few, like 5 or 6 on each carrot, a couple at the top, a couple towards the middle, just to add a little bit of definition, and then it will be done.